I was at a tournament this last weekend. I was over in Palm Springs for the Palm Springs Open, done by Dice Hammer, the local gaming group I have in the South Orange County area, kind of near Irvine-ish. Dice Hammer is actually a group that I do merch for. Is ran by a gentleman named Nick. Nick is kind of pretty veteran in the Warhammer world for here. He has ran many tournaments. I personally find them to be the most enjoyable tournaments to go to. I am a little biased because I do run his merchandise, but they are generally between like 100 and 110 players. They're in great locations, and for the most part, they're actually really good. You can actually buy his the Dice Hammer merchandise in the description of the video that this is, or go to orchidate.com for those of you who are watching this live. But I did indeed play some games at Palm Springs Open, and I found it to be rather enjoyable and very interesting. I'm grabbing the links right here. I played Sisters. I played Sisters of Battle. Which is kind of shocking, I think, for some of you, because Sisters are not doing great right now. They are sub 50% win rate and are about maybe they're not great. They're not like bottom barrel. They're no Death Guard and there's no Voton. Voton is like woof gone. But they're you know, they're one of my favorites, and you know, I'm always a diehard Sisters player, so I wanted to bring Sisters. And so I brought, some people were like, Bricky, you're bringing Sisters to this tournament, but I see you're bringing 5 squads of Battle Sisters. What's the reason for that? Like, did you find something? Have you discovered some kind of tech? And to that I say, no. This is just what I had and felt like running. 5 Battle Sister squads? Probably not great, actually. That being said, I actually, spoiler alert, I guess, I went 4-2. 4-2. Shocked. Shocked by that. I was expecting to go 2-4. I also won Best in Faction, which is crazy. Because it's the first time I've ever won Best in Faction in my life. And thank God for that, because I was the only Sisters player there. So I was also worst in Faction. There was one other Sister player who was actually doing better than me, but he dropped. So out of the 2 Sisters players, one dropped and I was the last one. So Best in Faction, default winner, let's fucking go. But anyway, let's go ahead and talk about the list real quick. It's there is a Canoness with Litanies of Faith, a Dialogus, a Hospitaller with Saintly Example, the I was running that wrong. Okay, I'll talk about that later. A Magifier with as well, Junith, a Palatine, and the Triumph of Saint Catherine. Palatine is the blade of Saint Eleanor as well. 5 squads of Battle Sisters. They had a combi weapon and a power weapon on the Sergeant, a Artificer crafted Stormbolter, a Multi-Melta, and a Simulacrum for every single one of them. There was an Immolator, a Rhino, Immolator with Flamers, by the way, a Rhino, 10 Sacristants with Halberds, 2 squads of Crusaders, 2 Mortifiers, or a full squad of 10 Repentia, and a Retributor squad with Multi-Meltas, and 2 Seraphim with Hand Flamers. So the reason for all this stuff is twofold. You might notice something interesting here. What kind of meta are we currently in? We're in a vehicle meta. We are in a vehicle meta. You may notice something. There are no vehicles in this list. That is because I didn't want to bring vehicles, because I think people were mainly going to be teching for vehicles. And so because of that, I specifically said, okay, I roll up to a table. Eldar player. Who knows what he's running? 20 Bright Lances, you know, going hard into the night matchup, for example. Millions of Bright Lances, something like that. And then I sit there like, fucking try it. I have about like 100 bodies, okay? Like go ahead, like a bunch of fire prisms. Do your worst. You will kill my mortifiers, my rhino, and my immolator, and then enjoy taking out T3 bodies with your 6 damage weapons. So it was a tech not only to go against the meta, but also to go against the people who were teching for the meta, which is kind of a wacky way to go about it, but that's how it went. So a couple of things to note here, and I want to talk about a few of my standout the methods for the whole thing. For the Canoness, first things first, do not take the Brazier build. The Brazier build is bad. I thought it would be better than it was. It is not. It is bad. The Brazier Holy Fire is a terrible, terrible weapon. Do not run it. Run a blade. Run the Blessed Blade, or at least a power weapon with like a plasma pistol or something. It's just not worth it. The Litanies of Faith is interesting. So if you don't know, Sisters, so I guess I'll give you a bit of a recap for Sisters for those of you who don't know. Miracle dice and Fate dice for Eldar are very similar. For Eldar, it's 1 use per phase, and you roll them all at the beginning of the game. And you can choose the ones you want, and you can re-roll it for fewer but better. In a sense, I would argue that the Eldar Fate dice are far more powerful, but I, as a Sisters player, get way more of them. So one is quality, mine is quantity. I have a quantity thing. Especially with Farseers for Eldar, you know, which are like ludicrously good. So I'd say I have a quantity thing. The thing is that with Sisters as well, our detachment is if your unit is injured, you get +1 to hit. If your unit is below half strength, you get +1 to hit and wound. And that also translates to all the enhancements. Basically, every single enhancement that I took has an ability, and then if you are damaged, has an extra ability. It's all about martyrdom, you know, pretty classic Sister stuff. But for Miracle Dice, there were a million ways to generate it. The 5 Battle Sisters squads actually had me dumping tons of Miracle Dice everywhere. Because if they're on an objective in my command phase, I get a Miracle Dice for each of them. If I use a Miracle Dice, I can use my Cherub to get a new one immediately once per game. And if they kill something, I get a Miracle Dice with a Simulacrum in them. So I was actually like one time I had a turn Battle Round 3, and I was on 4 objectives with Battle Sisters and the round. So I rolled 5 dice, just like, poof, there you go. It was pretty crazy. But despite all the dice stuff, you also get a dice for everything that dies. That's part of the reason why we have the 2 Crusaders and the 2 individual mortifiers, to cause some pain by moving them up 4, but also to generate a bit more dice if they end up dying, which they will. And then, you know, a few more here and there. The enhancements are fascinating. Litanies of Faith is a command phase. You can re-roll one of your dice, but if she is wounded, then you get to re-roll 3 of your dice in your command phase, which is like phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. The thing about the Canoness, and the reason I put it on her, is because often I will pop her 2-up invul, and that will allow her to be able to survive wounded most of the time, because she has 4 HP. And so it's like, okay, 2-up invul, go, until I am wounded, and then Miracle Dice the last one if I have to, which is pretty handy. So then you can stay wounded, but still give me tons of dice. It's also a great reason not to try to take her out with precision, because then I can just get a bunch of rerolls. Saintly Example, so I played this wrong. I thought this was actually on my Imagifier, not on my Hospitaller. But Saintly Example is when the character dies, you get D3 Miracle Dice. There's a particularly hilarious thing you can do with this. So let's say you take, the character dies, you gain a miracle dice. You then gain D3 more miracle dice for, average of 3 total after that. You can then spend 1 CP to revive the character, and then when she dies again, you get it all again. Because there's no restriction to that. It just happens again. It's great. Because if you go to Sororitas, and you go to Hallowed Martyrs, and you go to Enhancements, Saintly Example, when the bearer is destroyed, you gain an additional D3 miracle dice. Not the first time they're destroyed, not like just death. And so when you use the stratagem Divine Intervention, you get them back up. It's so funny. A character from your army that was destroyed. At the end of the phase, set the last destroyed model from your unit back up on the battlefield as close as possible to where it was destroyed, not within engagement range of any enemy models. It is set back up with the number of wounds remaining equal to the miracle dice you discarded. It's great. It's hilarious. It's hilarious. Does the D3 extra also get modified by triumphs, make it a 6 when they die? That's a fantastic question. While a friendly Adeptus Sororitas model within 6 of this model, if the unit is destroyed, the miracle dice you gain as a result is automatically a 6. But no, I think it would only make the dice that they died with a 6, not the D3 extra. It would only be the 1, based on how this is said. Other enhancement I had was the Blade of Saint Eleanor. Okay, let me tell you about this. The Palatine might be my MVP. No, that's not true. The Triumph is my MVP. The Triumph is easily the best Sisters unit by like a good margin. The Palatine is shockingly good. The Palatine gives the squad lethal hits, which is very good for Sisters and mainly using bolt guns. But it also gives them a 6-inch scout move, which is specifically good on very certain moments where there are objective markers close to your deployment zone, and from like a mission you use that allows you to get on them before the first command phase, allowing you to then get the miracle dice for having a battle sister squad on the objective, which is really, really handy. But also the Blade of Saint Eleanor is, I think, something that must be ran on for Sisters. This blade is really good. So what it is the Palatine has 4 attacks at 4/2/2. Pretty classic power sword stuff, right? But what you can do is you can actually spend a miracle dice to make it so that every successful wound is a mortal wound in addition. So any of those 4 attacks will do like, what is it? You wound like 2 of your 4 attacks, and so it's 2 saves and then 2 mortals, which is pretty handy. So anyway, the Palatine though, you give her that relic sword, and it is +1 to the strength, attacks, and damage of the weapon. I'm checking out the enhancements to make sure I'm reading this properly. Yeah, attack, strength, and damage. So next thing you know, she's 5 attacks at strength 5, AP2, flat 3 damage with possibly some mortals. But if she's injured, if she's hurt, which mind you, if she dies, you could spend 1 CP to get her back up at the end of the phase and then put her only at 1 wound to make sure she's injured. Next thing you know, she's hitting with 6 attacks at strength 6, AP2, damage 4. And if you dump that miracle dice, every single wound is a mortal. Also, she gets lethal hits. I'm pretty sure. This didn't really come up much at all, but I want to check if she gives lethal hits to herself. No, it's while she's leading a unit. So if she's in the unit, she gets lethal hits. But when she's by herself, she doesn't. But Sisters have a 1 CP +1 to wound strat, and that can be really good at getting more wounds, which means more mortals. But also, I've had times where the Palatine and her 10 battle sisters will be dropped down to like the Palatine and just 3 of them left. Next thing you know, they're +1 to hit, +1 to wound as well. So you don't even need the +1 to wound stratagem. I think she took out like 2 full custodian wardens by herself. Just attacked, threw some mortals out there and had like 3 damage each and just went slice, slice. She was actually really good. I think she might become a staple of my lists. Besides that, we're going through a couple other things. The Canoness is fine. She gives full rerolls to hits to the squad. She's okay. I don't know if I would take her still. I would almost probably replace her with the Palatine to give her a bit more melee prowess and lethal hits instead. Full rerolls to hits pretty good, but I don't know. It's either I replace her with the Canoness or I run like Palatine, or I replace her with like triple Canoness, all with melee to get full rerolls to hit on 3 squads. But Battle Sister squads just aren't really good enough, you know? Hospitaller is a 5-up, feel no pain, and you can heal, which is fun. A Magifier is a 4-up invul and lets you re-roll the dice you get for something dying within 12, which is actually pretty good. Junith and the Triumph and the Dialogus are where things get spicy. So Junith is just like, I think, an auto take. Because Junith is like, she's got like a flamer, and she has like 4 attacks at 622. It's nothing too special. Junith makes your squad -1 to hit, which is, you know, good. But Junith also gives you a free CP every single battle round. Or your command phase, which at Palm Springs Open, they ruled that because of the wording of the Junith stratagem gaining thing, it does not count towards your overall increase of CP. For example, it says here, if this model is on the battlefield at the start of your command phase, you gain 1 CP. Which for the ruling at the tournament did not go towards the refunding ability of CP. So occasionally when I dumped secondary objectives, I also got a CP for that one too. Now, I don't know if this is the way it should be. I was a little bit surprised to hear that. Didn't kind of really expect that. But I used it when I did. And that extra CP with Sisters is like paramount because you're going to need it because you've got good strats. And the Triumph and the Dialogus is the super combo. The super duper combo. So the Triumph is hilarious. It's T3, 4-up invul, 18 wounds with 18 attacks at 521. You also attach it to a Battle Sister squad, which is just hilarious, the concept of that. The Triumph gives a 6-inch aura of 1 of 6 buffs. Or sorry, 2 of 6 buffs. The one you will almost always be taking is no restrictions in Miracle Dice usage. If you're within 6 inches of the Triumph, you can spend as many Miracle Dice as you could possibly want. No per phase restrictions whatsoever. If you have 10 4-up saves, and you want to do 10 4-up saves for the Catherine right now in this fight phase, you grab that bucket of dice and you just say 10 saves. I ain't rolling shit. But this is particularly nasty when combined with the Dialogus, which allows you to turn Miracle Dice into 6s when you are using a squad. The Dialogus can, in fact, be placed on a Retributor squad. Now, what would happen if I had 8 Miracle Dice, for example? And they're like 1s and 2s and 3s and stuff. And you walk near me and I say, Overwatch. And then it's like, okay, 8 multi-meltas is kind of scary, but he's wounding me, he's hitting me on 6s. And then I say, oh cool, I will take 8 of whatever Miracle Dice I want from my thing. They're all 6s now. I have now hit you with 8 Melta shots in Overwatch. And also I reroll 1s to wound in shooting because I'm Retributor squads, by the way. Die. It is a very potent ability. It is not something that is used often because you basically need to burn through your entire reservoir of dice in order to do so. But it's pretty good. It's very good. I did it a couple times during the game, and that's kind of the strat, is you run the Dialogus Retributor plus Catherine combo. I would argue it's one of the things holding Sisters up right now, and without that combo, I think we go down like another 3% in the win rate, maybe more. So it's pretty spooky. It's a very powerful combo. Anyway, past that, the rest of the ideas for this was really just put the Repentia and the Rhino, move up and stab things, split the Immolator with a Ballister squad, leave 5 on the backfield objective, bring 5 up in the front to do some damage, and then Seraphim will drop in, shoot things, and then move because they have a shoot and scoot 6 inches ability, which is very, very good, and do objective play with them. And that's basically the concept. Junith goes with the Sacrosanct, so it makes the entire squad -1 to hit, -1 to wound, which is quite annoying. And yeah, Canoness often goes with the Hospitaller in a squad of 10 just to make them aggravating. Normally, I put the Imagifier and a brick of 10 in reserves in order to just kind of arrive and cause more problems. It's nice to show up with a 4-up invul and be like, you're a little damaged by now, so you might not be able to take me out too well. And yeah, all that kind of stuff. So with my list out of the way after 26 minutes of talking, let's talk about my first opponent, which was Eldar. I got Eldar first. I'm the Joker, baby, is the name of the list. Also, this goes without saying, but every single opponent I fought was pretty great. I have no complaints with any of them. They were all fun to fight. So it's all good. Even the stinky Eldar players, how dare they? Anyway, so Eldar was first one. As you can see here, it's Wayleaper, Death Jester, Eldrad, Farseer, Night Spear, Spirit Seer, Guardians, and then 2 Fire Prisms, Ranger, a support weapon, Swooping Hawks, Vipers, triple Warwalkers, and then the giant 10 brick of Wraithguard and 2 squads of Warp Spiders. So let me say something. The Wraithguard, I think, are scarier, or not as scary as people think they are. I think if you put the right amount of damage into them, they're actually not that frightening. The problem with the Wraithguard is that the stupid Spirit Seer allows you to revive one of them every single command phase, your and your opponent's. So you need to kill minimum 3 for it to even matter. It's infuriating to deal with, but I actually was taking them out a bit faster than I thought with my Meltas. So I think I should have shot them earlier. The Warwalk, as you can tell, this is kind of the list I was teching into. Viper with Bright Lance, 2 Fire Prisms with Prism Cannons, and 3 Warwalkers with triple Bright Lance. I was specifically teching to deal with this kind of list, full of Bright Lances and meant to kill tanks and knights. And it worked. This was my first win. Out of everything involving Eldar, Eldrad is amazing. The Autarch Wayleaper is ridiculous. There's a lot of craziness going on here. The big brick of Wraithguard is pretty crazy. None of it. Warp Spiders are, I will say, are the problem. Our problem is Warp Spiders. And the Wraith Knight's pretty bad too for what it can do, even though it got nerfed. The Warp Spiders. They are ridiculous. If you don't know, a Warp Spider has the ability to move 12 inches. It can flicker jump, which allows it to move 24 inches. It then has a Flamer that does devastating wounds. It is like a strength 4/01 D6 shots Flamer, but on the Exarch has 2 of them, so you have 6 D6 shots with devastating wounds on for mortals on 6s, and then they can spend 2 CP to fire and fade, and then move another 12. So it's like, oh no, I need to get behind enemy lines. Okay, I am now going to move 36 inches and most likely kill your entire backfield holding the objective. Also, I'm only 100 points for that. They're very good. They are very good. And also because they're flamers, they have such incredibly strong chip damage. So you can basically put mortals on basically anything in the game. Oh no, not 5d6 flamer shots, 6d6. The sergeant has 2. They seem not that scary originally, but it's just the mortal plink. You know, this will wipe an entire squad of Battle Sisters for me, but it'll still put like mortals on tough things. You can also, of course, Phantasm, which is the 1 CP move 7. Phantasm might be the most powerful stratagem I've ever seen in my entire life. I'm sure there's probably another worse one out there, but Phantasm is like insanity. It's a 1 CP move something 7 inches after your opponent's movement phase. It's so hard to deal with. Like it's so hard to deal with. That being said, I did pull this one out. I think what happened was I was able to flood the board with my bodies. Their bright lances killed me like crazy, but it really, like, I was sisters, so it didn't really matter what he shot. I was able to pull out some pretty good shots with a few things here and there, and I did the Overwatch trick. And so for the most part, I was actually able to pull out a win, which I was surprised by. But yeah, let me actually double check what my win. Oh wait, I have this on the app. I won that game 98-90. It was a very high scoring game. I was actually pretty impressed that I did as well as I did with 98. Yeah, it was 98-90. So it was a very close game. It was just like a turn off would be where I would have gone. So it was pretty good. Next list. Ba-da-bum-bum-bum. Imperial Knights. Imperial Knights. Canis Rex. Knight Castellan. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 battle line armigers and a Vindicare. Nothing but meta cheese at this event. Oh no. I had some pretty great other games. I got some pretty meta stuff with the first 2, but you'll see soon with the rest. So Knights was a bit rough. Knights are this is my first loss. They're just, you know, in fairness, I did way better than I thought I would. I could not kill Canis Rex, but I was able to keep him held back for a while. I killed like 5 armigers, and I also killed the Castellan. I was a bit shocked. I did actually do 16 damage to the Castellan in one go, because I made 2 Miracle Dice 6s automatically within Miracle half range, and then did 8 both. I did like 16 damage. Well, he made a few Feel No Pains, but it was like 15 damage afterwards. It was pretty crazy. He also got first turn. And if you know anything about Imperial Knights, going second against Imperial Knights is a bad time. It is a bad time. Yeah, it was really rough. I won't lie, I did not do as bad as I thought I would. I lost 76-88. I lost only by 12. I was able to score really well. After a while, even though he would fire like his entire amount of shots into me, I would still end up like surviving on 3 girls or something, like just barely making it, and then being able to go take like engage on all fronts behind enemy lines, etc. Because he just didn't quite have enough to get through all the bodies in the 3-up saves, especially with cover. So it made it tough. Also, chat, you may not know this, and I think this should be something to note. Knights can't fall back, shoot, and charge anymore. Some people don't realize that. They can't do that anymore. They can shoot out of combat still, but they're at -1 to hit. And they also can't shoot into combat with blast weapons. So, for example, the Knight Castellan, the Plasma Decimator, the Volcano Lance, and the Siegebreaker cannons can't shoot into combat. He has to shoot out of combat into something else at -1 to hit. And he doesn't always have a sightline for that. Before jumping into combat with Knights was like a death sentence, I'd clog them up. That helped me out a lot at the end. I would clog them up if you can. I think it's a pretty good idea. You can't be upset by that too much though, because knights are like the top 3 army right now. They are insanely good. So would still recommend running them when you have the opportunity. 76 to 88 though, not too bad. I felt pretty good. Number 3 is AdMech. Yes, AdMech. I know, right? Crazy enough, an AdMech player went 5-1 in this tournament, and he was in the top 10. An AdMech player did very well this tournament. It was not this player. He was a good time, but it was not him. So I will say a couple things. One, this was not what I expected. They did way more damage than I thought they would. And 2, I understand why they're bad. His list was oops all Cataphrons. 900 points of Cataphron breachers with heavy arc rifles and claws. And then it was 2 squads of Ruststalkers, some infiltrators, some Taraxi, a Dune Rider, and 10 Corpuscari Electro Priests, which are quite good at anti-infantry, I must say. And then a few Vanguard for the rerolls, and also that insane Tech Priest Dominus Omni Sterilizer build that did like 10 mortal wounds to me. Was insanity, that ability. But so basically here's how this works. This is an army very much teched to go into knights. This army likes to fight knights a lot. Like a lot. So you go to Mechanicus, you go to data sheets, right? You go to Cataphron, they breachers or destroyers? Breachers. You go to breachers, you look at their weapon. Their weapon is the heavy arc rifle, which is a 2-shot gun, rapid fire 2 with an 36 inches. So 18 inches is rapid fire 2. So 4 shots at 8, strength 8, AP 2, damage 3, anti-vehicle 4 up. The thing is, if you are within 6 inches of a battle line unit, aka Scutari, you get full rerolls to hit. So next thing you know, you have between 12 and 24 shots hitting on 4s with full rerolls to hit at anti-vehicle 4 up, AP 2, flat 3 damage. And he has 3 of them. And then, you put in a Tech Priest Dominus in there, and that gives them a 5 up feel no pain. And then you put in a Tech Priest Manipulus in there, which gives the entire unit lethal hits. And it becomes actually like some pretty genuinely horrifying shooting. Especially if you're overwatching, because you get full rerolls to hit. And next thing you know, this is pretty good. It really hurts. It really hurts really bad. And I lost an entire squad of Battle Sisters due to Overwatch. And I was getting blasted. And it hurt really bad. And I was like, wait a second, this is great. How are AdMech bad? And then I shoved him in melee and realized all of his melee is at strength 5, AP 1 damage, and is not very good. And I literally held him in my deployment zone for the entire game. And I just outscored him. And that's where it ended. And that's where everything went down. So yeah, it's that's where it all went down. Check out the Dragoons profile. You mean the Sindonian Dragoons? Or do you mean the other ones? What is this? Melee weapons is the Taser Lance, right? 4 up, 722, anti-walker. Sustain hits 2. Lance. Are knights walkers? I assume they would be. So what, you just run up and you shank a bunch of walkers? Why is it anti-walker? Why isn't it anti, like, why isn't it anti-vehicle? That's just bizarre. I know that the other one with the other chicken walker is pretty good. The Iron Strider Ballistari. I know they're actually pretty good because they're only like what, 50 points each or something. Yeah, they're 50 each, but they have a twin Cognis las cannon, which is actually not too bad. It's only one shot, but it hits well and it's twin linked and it has sustained hits 1. And they're actually kind of tanky at T7, 7 wounds. But yeah. Unfortunately, I just held him in my deployment zone the whole time. I kept him back, or in his deployment zone the whole time, and I ended up winning this one 87 to 62. 87 to 62. Not like a crazy stomp or anything, but he shot harder than I thought he would. He really did. I was like, oh my god, these guys. And they have a 5-up Feel No Pain. Oh my god. But I eventually was able to whittle it down and not have too many issues. That was day 1. Was feeling pretty good, 2-1. You know, I was feeling really darn good so far. I was kind of surprised. But then came day 2, and I was like, oh, it was horrible. It was 105 degrees outside. It was humid, and we had a air quality index of 230. It was like literally hell outside. We were in a warp storm. Anyway, then day 3 happened. 2 happened? Day 2, game 4. Day 2, game 4 happened, and then it was bada-bum bum bum. Park it and fuck it. V2 Custodians. I was pretty terrified for the Custodian matchup. I was not ready. Custodians are very good. I think so here's the thing about Custodians. Their win rate is not that like insane, because the top armies I think are just flat out better. Knights, Eldar, and Genestealer cults. But I will say that I think Custodes just trounce people who are lower. Like the gap between Custodians and everything below them is staggering, just staggeringly high. They're really good, and I think once the top armies get brought down, you're gonna see Custodians kind of rip through the meta, because Custodians have finally played the most like Custodians would feel like I've ever seen. It is so hard to deal with these guys. His list was crazy. It was 3 gigantic bricks of Wardens with Trajan, a Shield Captain, and a Blade Champion, and then 3 squads of 2 Terminators and a Calidus. The Calidus makes you have a Vect, which means that one of your stratagems gets upped in CP by 1. It's very good, very annoying. And they did that for my Revive strat, which makes sense. Oh, he also had a tank. He had a Calidus Grav tank. Dude, this tank though. Oh my god, this tank. This tank is insane. It's 4 shots on 2s, strength 12, AP 3, D6 plus 2 damage. And I was like, damn, that's pretty good. Whew, holy hell. And then the guy I fought was like, oh, it's also twin linked. I'm like, what? What? It's twin linked too? For full rerolls to wound? Okay. Jesus. So, I got first turn on against Custodian guy. And I moved up to prepare myself. And then he moved up and basically said, try it. And so I tried it. I did pretty good with my initial shooting phase. I actually killed his Trajan's, so he popped his 4-up Feel No Pain once per game on 2 of the squads of Custodian Wardens. And even with that 4-up Feel No Pain and Custodians, my entire firepower reduced Trajan's squad of Custodian Wardens to 0. I killed an entire squad of Wardens, a full squad, and left Trajan alone. I then charged Trajan with Junith, the Sacrosanct, and the Triumph, and he proceeded to face tank it for like 3 whole turns. And then what happened after that was the other 2 squads of Wardens walked onto the other 2 objectives, began to tear me apart with their spears, and then once he got into combat, the game was over. He then got into combat and it was done. Once the Custodians get into combat with you, you are done. They call them the undisputed masters of the fight phase, and it is not even a hyperbole. He stood there, he grabbed a spear, he got into a fucking karate stance, and then he was like, try me. And I don't think I killed another Custodian after that, maybe like 2. 2 more Custodians after that. Then his Terminators landed across the battlefield, did all of his objectives, and I lost horribly. I lost that one, what was it? 54 to 81. I guess 54 to 81 isn't a horrid loss, but it's not a good loss. He beat me pretty handily on that one. He just flat out was like, okay, slam, drop, deal with me. And I could not. Once he was in combat, I was done. So yeah, pretty rough list, but pretty good. Guy piloted pretty well. Next one, Chaos Space Marines. Okay, so I've played at multiple, like 5 of the Dice Hammer GTs in Southern California. I have not fought the same person twice, except for this guy, who I have fought 3 times now. He is the only person I have fought multiple times, literally 3 times now. The first time I fought him, he ran Mono Tzeentch Demons. The second time I fought him, he ran Varied Demons. I actually, this was at the Irvine Dice Hammer GT I made a video on before. I ran Night Lords for that one, the one with like all infantry and no demons. That's the one I ran. And then this one, I fought him again for a Tzeentch only CSM list. So he was going for the best in faction for Tzeentch, specifically Tzeentch. So it is CSM, but it's every single thing is Mark of Tzeentch. He's no Undivided, no Abaddon, no Harken, no anything else. It's all marked as Tzeentch. And he also had Blue Horrors and Blue Scribes. So he had 4 Oblits, 2 Forge Fiends, a 10 Brickatermes, a 5 Brickatermes, Accursed Cultists, some Legionaries, and then a Sorcerer, a Lord, and the Dark Commune. Let me tell you something. The Dark Commune with Accursed Cultists is a nightmare. It is a nightmare. I have a feeling these things are going to get nerfed, but this is the worst thing I've ever fought. I can't stand it. I cannot stand it. So what happens with this is that it's a full squad of Accursed Cultists. The thing is it's 10 mutants and 6 torments. Torments, the whole squad is T4. The whole squad's T4, and the whole squad is a 6-up Feel No Pain. Torments are 3 wounds a pop. Little dudes are 1 wound a pop. But you take a Dark Commune, which gives the squad a 5-up invul. It also has a once per game ability to add +1 to the hit, +1 to the wound, and give advance in charge for the whole squad, which actually ends up making these cultists kind of fuck in melee. Like, kind of actually scary. For such like little tiny dudes. Where is Chaos Space Marines? Here we are. Data sheets, Accursed Cultists. So that would be 10 guys with 2 attacks each. So 10 attacks at 401. And then 3d6 plus 6. So d6 plus 2 attacks per torment. So 3d6 plus 6 in a sense at 5, 1, 2. Now they're only hitting on 4s, but that once per game thing lets you get, you know, +1 to hit and wound. So they will actually rip. But that's not what makes them so good. What makes them so good is they regenerate models in both command phases, yours and theirs. So let's say you don't kill the squad. You can either revive one of the big torments or 3 of the tiny mutants. But if you don't kill them, remember, it's both command phases. So before it's your turn again, you will get either 2 big guys or 6 tiny guys. Don't forget, they're T4. They have a 5-up invul and a 6-up feel no pain. But we're also not done. These are all Zinchian guys. They're Zinch, which means you can spend 1 CP for Skin Shift to regenerate another big guy. But we're also still not done. When you think about the squad type, you can fuck with how it goes. What if I fired a Multi-Melta or a Bright Lance into this squad? That's fine. We'll take it on one of the tiny little mutant guys and he just dies. One guy dies, you're done. What if I fire like 40 bolters? I'll take it on the big guys. They have 3 wounds. Screw it. Like, there's no proper way to kill them unless you're just dumping mortals into them. And so for the measly cost of 245 points, these things took me 3 full turns to kill. And the only reason that's the case is because he popped his advance and charge move, CP'd his advance, needed a 6-inch charge, failed it, and then CP'd it and failed it. If he made that initial charge, I think he would have won the game, or at least it would have been way closer. That was a game-changing roll, game-changing charge roll. And he just was not able to pull it off, which was very unfortunate. Which basically made the rest of his entire list like 1 turn behind. He was always 1 turn behind. He was having to play on the back foot. Like I deep striked in, and then he had to spend his obliterators killing like an immolator or like Seraphim squads. They had no good targets. The Forge Fiends didn't do particularly great because they also didn't have great targets. Some Battle Sisters maybe, but that was really it. And that game ended 95 to 69. It's pretty it was like he was like just 1 turn behind. He would have tabled me at the end. Like he had way more mauls at the end. He was murdering me pretty badly, but I had to beat him out in terms of points. Yeah, it's pretty good. I'm going to run this combo on Saturday. Was thinking of taking Mark of Nurgle for the Lone Operative strat. That's pretty good. Yeah, Lone Operative strat's really, really good. I'd say that, can you take them as undivided? I don't remember if you can or not. If you could, it might be good for the 1 CP full rerolls to hit and wound, but you might want to use that on something a little bit better like Terminators. I don't know. Good game though. Third time. This is the 3rd time we fought, and then this is the 3rd time I've beat him. So I'm really hoping the next time we fight, he beats me, because I've had my comeuppance for a while. He probably was going to beat me if he didn't fail that Dark Commune charge. But you know, next time. And the last game of the day, the last one of the day. Blood for the Blood God. World Eaters. This game did not go how I thought it would. Not in the slightest. I rolled up and he was like, hey, how's it going? Here's my list. It is 3 squads of 10 Zerkers, 2 squads of 5 Zerkers, 2 Rhinos, 3 8-bound, 2 Master of Executions, Karn, and Angron. That's me. And I looked at him and I was like, based. extremely based list. It is such a Giga Chad list. So, I gotta show you this one ability though that he had. So he had a Master of Executions, and it has a enhancement. So, okay, let me tell you what the Master of Executions does first. The World Eater's one, because it's insane. Where is he? The World Eater's Master of Executions. It's 5 attacks at 7/2/2. Pretty good, right? 7/2/2, pretty good. It also has precision and devastating wounds. That's pretty good, right? For a World Eaters list, a Blood for the Blood God murdery list, like, that's pretty good. You can kill a character. Ooh, what's this? While this model is leading a unit, models in that unit have the Fight First ability. Each time this model makes a melee attack that targets a character unit, you may re-roll the hit roll, and you may re-roll the wound roll. Oh. So he can fish for devastating wound mortals. He can fish for that. Oh, what is this? He had this enhancement on it. The Berserker Glaive. All right, let's take a look at this one. Add 1 to the attacks and damage characteristics of melee weapons equipped by the bearer. Each time the bearer ends a charge move, roll a d3. Until the end of the turn, add the result to that roll to the attacks and damage instead. So turn 1, he gets first turn. He rolls his Blessings of Khorne, and he gets +2 move and advance and charge. He moves Angron about 22 inches and then charges me. He then moves his Master of Executions roughly 14 or so and then charges me. He proceeds to get a 3 on this attack spike and fishes for 6s and gets 3 and does 15 mortal wounds to my sister's unit, while Angron crunches the other one to death. And so after turn 1, 2 full squads of Battle Sisters were completely dead, and I'm having a bad time. I'm having a bad time. Now I will say, but at this point I was like, I'm done. Like I told him, I'm like, I don't want to be doom and gloom or anything, but I feel like this is it. Like I think I'll play this out. I'll try my best and everything, but I feel like I might be out of here. Like I might be done with, like, I don't think I can come back from this because he's here. Angron is here in my face. But so I looked at the guy to my right. He was playing knights, and I'm like, hey dude, I'm pointing to Angron. I said, how do you deal with this? And he said, just feed him a unit every turn. Just let him take his pound of flesh. I'm like, okay. So the next 2 turns were pretty casual. I actually wonder if things would have been different had we known this was happening, because I started to actually make a comeback. I didn't ever, I shot Angron like twice, like ever. Every turn, I just surrounded Angron with units and like force fed him, like let him force feed units. Angron killed an entire squad every single turn, and I never killed him. Do you know why? Because with all the enhancements and blessings that you could get, the guy I fought was like, yeah, last game I revived Angron 6 times. 6 times. And I'm like, I'm not even gonna do it. I'm not even gonna bother. Angron can stay. And crazily enough, I actually was able to do some really good work. My Repentia took out a Rhino, and then he charged me, but I spent the 2 CP to fight on death with the Repentia, and I killed like most of his unit. And then my mortifier started blasting with heavy bolters and killing more and more. And then my seraphim came in, and I actually started to take over the sides of the board. Like I took over the sides of the board. He took over my spawn because he had Angron there. But world eaters like don't die very, like they don't live very easily. They actually die a little quick if you have the right units to kill them. So I actually started to break free. Angron came in, smashed the crater in my lines, but the things that weren't in the blast radius kind of moved out and took over the rest of the area. And so near the end of the game, like I was gonna like get tabled because Angron was killing everything I could, but he couldn't ever have no man's. Oh wait, no, actually I think I would have actually tabled him. Yeah, I had more units. I would have tabled him. Yeah, I actually ended up having more units. Angron never died, but I took over almost every other objective and held it. Let me tell you, if you ever have an issue with sisters, if you ever need to kill more things and deal with bigger problems, one thing is your big friend. It's called grenades. 1 CP grenade strat is the most underutilized stratagem in this whole thing. Roll 6 dice, every 4-up is a mortal wound. Like, grenades are very good. They are very good. And you do it right before you shoot. So if you really need to plink off some final wounds on somebody, just grenades. They're very helpful. And that's probably what saved me here. Because don't forget, it's mortal wounds against anything. Throw a grenade at a knight for all I care. It's 6 dice, 4-ups are mortals. You know, like it works on everything. If you really need to take the wounds out, just grenades. So I actually ended up winning this game. Now that's why I'm a little bit curious, because I don't know if I would have won if we played it a bit more seriously, because we were pretty just like, ugh, well, that's pretty much it. And we just kind of played it casually for the first 2 turns. But I wonder if, I don't know if I would have won if we had played it more seriously. He may have played it more seriously and maybe a bit more tactically, because we both kind of thought the game was just over. It was also the 6th game, and for any of you who play a tournament, you know the 6th game, you're just like, you're just done. Like, you're just done. But yeah, no, seriously, I won 85-69. Nope, that was the last game. Wait. Oh, crap. Well, yeah, no, wait, there was 2 69s in a row? Nice. It was 95-69 against Chaos Space Marines, 85-69 against World Eaters. 2 69s. Hell yeah. And that was Palm Springs Open. 4-2. Sisters. Shocking. Did not see it coming. Did not expect it. Great time. Felt good. Loved it. All good stuff. Oh no, I am being harassed by a Twitch agent. I'm ending this before